Welcome to Tutorial Tuesday. In this week's video we'll be going over the tools that I use in prop and armor making. And alright, let's cut to that intro. First thing we're going to go over is actually some of the materials that we'll be using when making our props and armor. Right? This is EVA foam. It's one of the things that I use for making props and armor. It comes in these big sheets here. They're a 4-pack. I usually get them at Walmart. So yeah, it has one side that's smooth and one side that's rigid. And like I said, it looks flat now, but trust me, we will be able to manipulate it in a whole ton of different ways. A thinner craft foam, usually get the roll of this at Michael's. And this is mainly used for doing a lot of the detailing, and I use a lot more of this in making the swords and daggers and any bladed weapon. Especially long swords and the whatnot, they end up being real wavy if you don't, and floppy if you don't put a core in. And the main material I use for that is balsa wood. It's nice and flimsy. Another thing you can also get at Michael's or a art supply store, at least for these sizes. You can also get bigger sheets of it at like a hardware store or something. Use PVC piping for anything circular. So this stuff you can again get at a hardware store. Some of the glues and adhesives that I use, the main one is contact cement. You can get a big drum of it like this, or you can even bigger one. You end up using this a lot. It works really well for bonding 2 pieces of foam together or 2 pieces of anything, so this is kind of like the main one. Also use a glue gun and glue sticks, just like hot glue for some of the more finite, when you need just little pieces glued. A spray adhesive also works as well. To need to be able to cut our various materials into the various shapes. So that's where we got a box cutter and a little X-Acto knife. This is good for doing a lot of the detailing. The general cutting out of the using a box cutter would be cutting out the general shape of everything. This works really well. The thing about using these kinds of knives, though, with working with foam is that the blades dull really easily. So you need to invest in getting extra blades. Thankfully they sell them in little packs, easy to get. The foam, we end up heating it to manipulate it into the various shapes that we need, and then that's where this comes in. This is our heat gun. You're going to need an actual heavy duty heat gun. Hair dryers are not going to cut it, they're just going to take way too long. The other main tools that we're going to need to be using is a rotary tool like this cordless Dremel here. I personally prefer cordless over corded just because then I don't have a cable and I can work wherever, but that's your preference as long as it's just a little rotary tool. Now, if you need to cover up any gaps or you get a little accident, you know, with the Dremel or something like that, and you need to smooth out part of your foam, you get some Quick Seal. Sure that you work in a well-ventilated area, because stuff like the contact cement and some of the paints and whatnot can be, they can have strong smells, so you want to make sure that you're well ventilated. I also want to make sure that you have yourself a pair of work gloves and safety glasses. Who is accidentally cut yourself or get something in your eye, so you know, safety first. You're going to need a couple pencils and a Sharpie, also black and silver as well, especially for the dark foam. As we use these to trace out the designs that we're cutting onto the foam, you want to get yourself a ruler, preferably a metal one, that you're cutting a straight line. You also want to get a measuring tape so that you can get your measurements right. Once everything's all put together and your prop or armor is ready to be painted, first thing is some sandpaper to clean up all the edges and remove any of the little bits of fuzz or whatnot that are left over. I'm also going to need something called Mod Podge or some kind of sealant, just kind of stiffens up stuff a little bit and gives you a surface to paint over, as foam when painting is really absorbent. Using acrylic paints, you can get them dollar store, art supply store, Walmart, wherever they sell acrylic paints. And then we'll need some paint brushes, of course, so that we can apply the paint to the prop. So that's more or less the tools that you're going to be using when you're making props and armor. There are sometimes little specific items that you might find. Again, dollar stores are a great place to hunt for, like if you need like gems or more decorative stuff, that's where you go, but that kind of depends on the project that you're making. There are extra materials that I'll use for individual products. I'll make sure to mention those when I hit those videos. Alright, so that's the basic materials that we're going to be using when we're making props and armor. So hopefully you found it helpful, and make sure that you give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button so that you can see more of my tutorial videos. And peace out. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, and have a good